When Johnny Carson asked a question on The Tonight Show, most celebrities followed the unspoken rules. They shared charming anecdotes, rehearsed jokes, and polished stories designed to promote their latest projects. But not everyone played along. A few guests chose brutal honesty instead, even with millions watching. The result was television so raw it left Carson momentarily speechless, network executives panicking, and audiences glued to their screens. From 1962 to 1992, The Tonight Show was America's nightly ritual. Before podcasts, social media confessions, or viral LOLs, Carson's desk was where celebrities revealed who they really were. Most arrived with carefully managed images, but a rare few used their time to speak uncomfortable truths that still echo decades later. What made these moments unforgettable wasn't just what was said, but the authenticity behind it. In an era of carefully controlled celebrity personas, these guests cracked the illusion wide open. One of the most powerful moments came in 1983, when Bette Davis sat across from Johnny Carson. At 75 years old, cigarette in hand, she had no interest in polite conversation. With decades of battles behind her, she spoke plainly about Hollywood's treatment of women. "Getting old in Hollywood," she said bluntly, "you might as well be dead, especially if you're a woman." Nervous laughter rippled through the audience, but Carson was momentarily stunned. This wasn't a promotional interview. This was a reckoning. They worship youth and beauty as if it's some great achievement. She continued, "I've fought for every decent role since I turned 40. Men become distinguished. Women become invisible." There was no self-pity in her voice, only hard-earned clarity. With 2 Oscars and an untouchable legacy, Davis wasn't speaking for herself. She was speaking for every actress who came after her. When Carson suggested things had improved, she fixed him with a look and replied, "That's like saying the Titanic improved because they added lifeboats after it sank." Decades before sexism and ageism became mainstream conversations, Bette Davis said it out loud on live television. If that honesty felt bold, Richard Pryor's appearance in 1980 was something else entirely. Fresh from a near-fatal accident caused by cocaine addiction, Pryor abandoned every prepared talking point. "I wasn't trying to kill myself," he said calmly. "I was just trying to get high enough to touch God. Instead, I almost met him." The audience wasn't laughing. They were listening. "This isn't a joke," he told Carson. "Cocaine isn't recreational for me. It's suicide on an installment plan." When Carson gently tried to steer the conversation elsewhere, Pryor refused. He spoke openly about addiction, racism, and the loneliness of fame. "Try being black in America," he said. "Try having money and success and still being treated like you don't belong." At a time when male celebrities rarely admitted vulnerability, Pryor turned a comedy interview into a public confession. Network executives reportedly pushed for edits. Carson resisted. The moment mattered. Then, there was Shelley Winters. When she appeared in 1975, she didn't just exposed Hollywood. Midway through the interview, she reached into her purse and pulled out a worn bikini, explaining it was what she wore during a screen test decades earlier. Before Carson could stop her, she launched into a blunt discussion of casting couches and predatory studio executors. "You want to know how girls got roles?" she said. "They were expected to be nice. And by nice, I don't mean polite." She named names, described propositions, and spoke openly about actresses who felt forced to comply or walk away. Carson squirmed. The audience gasped. "Winters didn't care? These men wore power like armor," she said. And everyone knew. Decades before the Me Too movement, Shelley Winters said it on national television. Oliver Reed's appearance in 1987 took a different turn. Visibly intoxicated, he arrived ready to burn bridges. Ignoring Carson's attempts at structure, Reed launched into a rant about Hollywood cowardice and commercialism. "It's run by accountants pretending to be artists," he slurred. Laughter quickly faded. His words were messy, uncomfortable, and sometimes incoherent, but beneath them was a truth many recognized. The interview ended abruptly. Reed was never invited back. Burt Reynolds shocked audiences in 1976 with a different kind of honesty. Known for his charm and easygoing image, he casually admitted that some co-stars he smiled with publicly were people he couldn't stand privately. "Some of them," he said with a grin, "I'd love to punch in the throat." He avoided names but offered descriptions sharp enough for insiders to recognize. He wasn't angry or bitter. He was simply honest about the phoniness of Hollywood relationships, breaking an unspoken rule that stars never criticize each other publicly. Then there was Zsa Zsa Gabor, draped in diamonds and sipping champagne. Despite network rules, she stunned Carson by fully embracing her reputation. "I'm married for comfort," she said cheerfully. Some husbands had more money than love. When Carson tried to give her an out, she doubled down. "I loved their houses, Their jets, their bank accounts. There was no shame, only some. Diamonds last longer than applause, she said, smiling. She didn't deny the stereotype. She owned it. These moments weren't just shocking television. They were cultural cracks in Hollywood's polished facade. At the time, they were risky, uncomfortable, and even dangerous for careers. Today, they feel prophetic. Bette Davis spoke about sexism before it had a name. Richard Pryor humanized addiction and mental health. Shelley Winters exposed abuse decades before society was ready to listen. Even the more controversial moments revealed something rare: truths without a filter. Johnny Carson deserves credit for creating a space where these moments could happen. His interviews weren't rigidly controlled. He adapted, reacted, and sometimes struggled to keep things on track. But that spontaneity allowed real humanity to surface. In today's world of media training and pre-approved talking points, moments like these feel almost impossible. These guests remind us that behind every carefully managed image is a real person with flaws, frustrations, and stories that don't fit neatly into publicity narratives. Their honesty made audiences uncomfortable, but it also made television unforgettable.